Snake was right. Yeah.
I think the major issue we got is what we call unicellular versus multicellular. I think that's a major issue because I don't disagree with everything about evolution. Because the whole thing about evolution, if some of the ideas that people believe, like natural selection, not necessarily mutations so much so, but if you didn't have those factors in place, you couldn't get what you need, to get a diversity. But I think that what evolutionists do is they take that little bit of information and they stretch it all the way out to mean a lot more than what it means. And mainly because, to be frankly honest with you, they don't like the idea of a God. You know, they don't like the idea of an
Well,
intelligent being
most of
being
them
more
believe in a
intelligent than
God,
them.
so
No,
yeah.
that's the see. I don't agree with that. See, I think that when we're talking about evolution, okay, you know, I don't know if anyone really did a separation between common ancestry because if you ask them, do you think we evolved from chimps? That's a different ball game. It really depends on how you define evolution.
Yeah, there are people who think that God guided evolution. There are people who think God designed evolution from the beginning and he knew everything that would happen over billions of years. That's, I think, the more likely God, if I was going to believe in one. Um, then there are people who think God intervened several times over evolution, and there are people who think that there was basically no evolution.
Okay, so right. Okay, so yeah. Now I agree with you. There is some, but I don't think the majority of Christians, okay, especially Bible believing Christians, believe that evolution from us, especially when you're talking about everything being related.
Well, the
Okay,
majority of Americans accept evolution, and the majority of Americans are Christians. But what I was saying is that the majority of evolution believers are Christians.
so I just don't agree with you. Again,
Well,
it really depends on how
it's
you
not.
define evolution.
There are statistics on this, though.
Okay, well, I don't know how like I said, I don't really know how it was worded up, and I just don't really agree with that, to be honest with you. But
It's
that's not even overly important.
Yeah, it's not an excuse not to believe in God. I don't think if evolution is true, that doesn't disprove a God. I don't believe that at all.
Okay, so where are you at? Because I want to set some guidelines. Because what I notice what evolutionists do is they ride that slippery slope. They ride in between positions. They don't really like to define themselves because they want to be able to run back into the shadows when they need to. Okay, so where are you at as far as where what God did as far as evolution?
I don't believe in a God. I believe that evolution happened from a single common ancestor and that it happened naturally.
Okay, all right, good, beautiful. So that gets us into
But
okay. So let's kind of
I don't think
go ahead.
evolution disproves a God.
Okay, but you believe so you have to believe that you know um, even before. So you have to believe in abiogenesis then, right?
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay. All right.
But today
Okay. So
we should limit it to the multicellular transition,
right.
probably.
I agree. I agree.
So to
Okay.
me, the difference would be what do you consider an individual? Because we're all just masses of cells. And we're all, as people, cooperating as a society. So, but at what point do we draw the lines and say you're an individual?
Yeah. You're an individual. If you basically how I look at it is, I find this whole idea of this unicellular a very dumbed down version. Very dumbed down. It only wants to explain, you know. these cells encapsulated on a membrane. All the cells are capable of carrying out any of those functions that cause cell differentiation. Any of these, a cell could do all that on its own. Okay, so there's nothing unique about being encapsulated by this extracellular matrix, and I even question that because I'm not sure exactly what's on what's what is being wrapped in because typically the extracellular matrix is is to protect is to basically to separate the cells, the fluids, okay, the collagens, the special proteins, the glycan proteins, and all that. It's kind of like, and it also uses to be able to um, get in contact with uh, cell signaling and also external environments and epigenetic factors. So the
So to
real
catch up
well,
people who will be
okay,
listening.
okay, let me just finish just
Okay.
really quickly, just this little part right here. To me, that's the real definition. I think what you're saying is some dumbed down stuff. Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
So to catch up anyone who will be listening, what we're talking about is the algae experiments for multicellularity and the C. reinhardtii. And you mentioned the extracellular matrix. That alone does not make something a multicellular organism or multicellular individual, we should say, because there are single celled organisms that attach to each other with extracellular matrix.
Okay,
So
so
that
what I
alone
guess,
doesn't
right.
make an individual.
So I guess what I need from you is to tell me what extent is this extracellular matrix? Was I'm assuming that is nowhere near as complex as what you need for muscle cells, tissues, collagens, proteins,
Yeah,
nothing like that. Then. So it's
of course
nothing
not.
like that.
Nope.
So what it basically is just adhesive agent is what you're saying,
And a
right?
signaling medium.
Okay, so
But we're
all
talking
right,
about very
so
simple multicellularity, so of course it's not going to be complex.
okay,
It is
so
complex chemistry, like in terms of like it's not just H2O. It would be complex on paper, but as far as comparatively to like a mammal, it's much simpler. So it doesn't have
okay, so how
organs or tissues yet, but it does
okay,
have cell differentiation, and it
okay,
has a way for the cells to attach to each other and form a body.
Okay, so let me get in there because you stretching a little bit. I mean, not stretching, but you're saying a little bit more. I want to try to stay very pointed as possible.
Hmm.
What is this cellular extracellular matrix contributing to the cells that the cells can't do themselves?
That they can't do themselves is form
Right,
a
because
body.
cells. Okay, right. So that's all they're doing. Because cells can signal by themselves. You know. So I could give you charity and say that this extracellular matrix could be pulling the cells closer together so it can communicate like through gap junction or something like that, right?
Well, the
You know,
two
and
important
when they're close,
differences, so they these cells can form extracellular matrix with each other in the unicellular form, but the difference there is that that's temporary. And so in the multicellular version, it's permanent, and single cells do communicate with each other already. They already have that capability. But the
okay, right.
difference is how they communicate. Are they communicating as individuals or are they communicating as an individual?
Okay, but here's the thing. No, okay, that's a I love that point. That's a great point. Okay, but that's just like if you have 10 people setting up um a dining room for a wedding. They're working as a unit. They don't have to talk to each other, but they're working as a unit. But here's the thing: what is the cellular matrix contributing outside of being adhesive? How is it increasing the cell signaling, if at all?
It's not really any different from the unicellular extracellular matrix, but the difference is how the cells communicate with each other is they don't break apart and then they differentiate function. The
Okay,
matrix is
right.
basically the same. It's just the
No, the
signals carried
matrix.
through it is different.
Now the matrix, and the matrix and regular multicellular is much more complex. Not only is it more complex, you got way many more components to them. Then you got very, very
Sure.
complex proteins in there. Okay, and you got complex carbohydrates and proteins, a lot of different things, and it's definitely a great pathway to, um, when we're talking about um, epigenetic factors, much different. And it's doing, I'm pretty sure there's quite a bit of regulatory factors involved with that too. Okay, so if this fluid is only, and I don't even know how this helping with the cell signaling, because like you said, cells can signal on their own. Only thing is, to me, only thing it's doing is bringing them closer together. I didn't see anything in that article that said how it was increasing anything. As far as differentiation, cells do that on their own too. Cells adapt to the environment. This is why I'm not, you know, I feel like evolution is hijacking some factors and putting them in their camp as far as adaptation, especially adapting to environmental cues and conditions. Because to me, that involves some form of intelligence. And if you're going to say that God didn't do anything, you have to be able to explain how unguided process can build systems like detection systems that can detect the environment.
Well, they already have that. So the
Okay,
difference here is that they're using this gene, the Reg A gene, or it's a Reg A like gene. That's the type of gene it is in the unicellular version, it responds to environmental cues, and in the multicellular version, it's developmental cues. So it's only the cells talking to each other, and they're doing this so
okay,
they can
but
form other identical clusters. So these clusters are acting as a single unit. They're
okay, so,
individuals, and they make other individuals exactly like them that do the same thing, and they stay
okay,
together as a single body.
that is the capability of the cells itself. Cells can do that. Cells can adapt certain things. They can do that. Just like
But the
you.
unicellular ones don't do that
Okay, okay, but wait a minute. Hold on. How do you know that? How do
because
you know
they
that given? Wait, hold on. Let me just finish. How do you know, given an environmental change, that you know genes can be switched on and switched off to be able to cooperate like that? If there's nothing in the, if you can't tell me what in the extracellular matrix is doing it, it must be the cells doing it in cells.
they are because it's a genetic change because it's not responding to the environment. And they know this
Okay, so
because they put them in the same environment and they do different things.
okay, no wait, you gotta bring explain that a little bit more to me. That
So
experiment you're talking about.
so in the same medium, the nutrient medium, unicellular ones don't form clumps, and the
They don't form
multicellular
clumps
ones do.
being hold on. They don't form clumps being in the not being in the medium. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they don't
Say that one more
naturally
time.
form clumps in that environment.
Okay, so are you saying without the extracellular matrix, uh, they don't form? Okay, of course they form clumps with the
So
extracellular
the ones
matrix.
that form clumps will dissolve into single cells in this environment that they used. It's like tag nutrients. That's what they call it, TAG.
Right.
So if they're clumped, if they're aggregates with the extracellular matrix, one, they're not all related cells. They're just random cells that bumped into each other. And if you put them in this environment, they'll break apart. But the multicellular ones don't do this. They stay in the same body, and they're all the same. They're all from the same parent cell.
I'm
Just
trying to
like
figure out. Okay,
just
so
like
I'm trying to figure out. I need to know
every
these terms
like
though. When you say multicellular, are you referring to this cluster? Is that so we need to know what we're talking about? Are you talking about this cluster? Because I'm getting a little confused if you're talking about
so yeah,
multicellular.
um there can be clusters of cells that are multiple individuals, or there can be multiple cells that is a single individual.
Okay, so what's it? Okay, so there could be multiple cells. Is both of these? Do both of these examples you're talking about? Do they both have this extracellular matrix that you're talking about?
In times of stress, the unicellular ones will secrete extracellular matrix and stick to each other. And these are just random ones that happen to bump into each other.
Okay,
Then, when they're put in normal nutrients, they break apart again and are just free floating, swimming unicellular.
okay. So
But
so they just
the evolved ones do not do this. They're all related and they stay together in all the environments that were tested.
okay. So you're saying the evolved ones don't eventually break apart?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
They
Okay,
have a continuous body, and their children form continuous bodies.
okay. So the evolved ones don't break apart, and you said that experiment lasted a year. So so
A
so
little
so
less, I think.
okay. So I can just say that basically that the evolved ones either they turn the switch off or they turn the switch on, and then some type of way it became beneficial for them to to clung together because it's safer. They can probably get nutrients a little easier. You know what I mean? That's what happened. But this is a mechanism that's within the cell itself. It's an adaptation principles. You have not told me what's
But
in this
the
extracellular. Wait a minute. Let me just finish real quickly. You have not told me what is in this matrix that's making them, that's adding to it, that's making them not unicellular anymore.
It's not the matrix, it's their DNA. So adaptation would be a single cell is adapting. So it depends on what you mean, environmental adaptation or evolutionary adaptation. So what was observed in this was evolutionary adaptation because it happened over generations, because the original population can't do this. The original
Yeah.
population forms clumps that are not related individuals, and they are not permanent clumps.
So basically, so we both agree the extracellular matrix really isn't doing anything. What's happening is these
Well,
cells are evolving. Let me just say this, and then you can clean it up for me because
mhm.
I'm trying to follow you. These cells evolved some type of mechanism for being around each other the way they did, and it's the actual cells itself. It's nothing to do with the extracellular matrix. They evolved, and they evolved in their evolution. You feel you can now call them cell different. You can now call them multicellular. Is that kind of what you're saying?
the the original unicellular species, the wild type, already had the ability to form extracellular matrix and to stick to each other. The
Right.
difference here is that when they form, so these clusters aren't formed by random ones coming together. The evolved ones, the multicellular ones, they're born and they create a body out of that parent cell, and they stay together in that extracellular matrix till they die.
So, okay. So you said
So
so.
so the difference is not the composition of the extracellular matrix. The difference is the cell behavior. So the cells don't dissolve the ECM. They they keep it there and they don't swim away from each other.
that just really honestly that just don't qualify. Honestly, I'm trying to understand. I'm really trying to understand. Now, okay, hold on for a second. Damn dogs, man. I'm trying to learn. Like just not necessarily I'm gonna agree with you, but when you're I'm trying to see your point of view. Okay, but I'm not getting that. I think there's something that when you explain it, I'm just not getting it. You're saying
So
that they evolved.
so what would be a body to you? Uh, so we have a cell that divides and creates a body, and the cells need some way to stick together. That's what an extracellular matrix is. Uh, Mammals have that in their tissues, so their cells stick together. So at what point is this no longer a colony of individuals, but an actual body of one individual for you? Is it the size or the shape of the clump, or is
No,
it
it's not.
cell differentiation?
But yeah, I got somebody. Yeah, yeah. This is a okay. Yes, yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I got like a lot of things going on at the same time. I'm gonna go ask some questions. The dog and this match. You said what qualifies it as multicellular? Is that what you're asking me?
Like, at what point would you call it a body? Because all bodies are made up of cells that are sticking together
Well,
through
yeah,
an extracellular
dumb.
matrix.
That's dumbing it down. Because then you got skin on top of that. You got organs. You got environment. You really got true
Yeah, for
environmental factors.
complex ones. So
Right.
there's the multicellular algae volvox, which is those bubble shaped ones.
Yeah, but that's
They
all you
the
basically got
bubble
is
the
a
bubble
bubble.
is
It's inside of a bubble. That's it.
all extracellular matrix,
Okay,
and they only have two cell types. They don't have different tissues. It's just two cell types.
right, but here,
Same as the Reinhardtii.
see, I don't, I consider that, I don't, uh, how do you consider that being, okay, so I guess
Um,
it really comes down to how we qualify multicellular to unicellular. Okay, so you'll accept a very loose definition for it. I don't accept that loose definition. You know, I think multicellular, when you talk about multicellular, you're talking about a complex creature automatically. That's a complex creature. And
well,
it's
all
complex
cells are
creatures.
very complex, so it's
Okay.
that's a pretty subjective definition.
But
So there's complex
it's not just,
multicellular, which is like organs and organ systems, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about simple multicellular. So comparatively, it's going to be simple.
but here's the
So
problem. Here's the
there
problem.
is multicellular algae, like the Volvox.
No, but here's the problem the problem is this here. That unicellular that you're talking about in the most complex form you can get, you don't have any evidence of that evolving out of that into something. But what I'm saying to you is you don't have that evolution from what you're talking about, this unicellular, okay, even if you want to say, okay, if you want even want to call these cells working together and you want to say that this body they have is a very simple body, how do you evolve that simple? How do you evolve into the now? And I know you know about how you got how the extracellular matrix and complex creatures are, between the skin, the cells itself, the fluid, the proteins and the carbohydrates, the antigens and all that stuff, and then how they signal with the environment and everything, extracellular matrix with the epigenetic factors. How would you say that this can evolve, from that unicellular to the multicellular to the complex? And
How would you say that can evolve?
Well, that's kind of a different question than whether or not this experiment has a multicellular
Well,
evolution, like as the simplest step.
it, but 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 if it can't do that, then it,
Then
it
what's the
gives me
next step?
it gives me credence to say that unicellular didn't evolve into multicellular. That gives me credence to say that because if
So you're
there's no
wondering what the
mechanism,
next step is after simple multicellular?
yeah, what would be the next step, and what would be examples of those steps?
Well, they look at algae because it has a lot of range in its multicellularity. So there's like really highly complex multicellular algae like kelp. Um, I'm not sure like of the anatomy of kelp so much. I think it has like organs, kind of, kind of as far as plants go. And it has those, um, it has those organs that help it float. It has the leaves. It has the stalk. And then it has reproductive tissues, and that's algae. And then there's within algae, there's a lot of range of cellularity. There's single cell, there's very simple multicellular, like the Volvox that has the bubble with the reproductive cells inside. Then there's this C. reinhardtii multicellular that was evolved in a lab, which is a little bit simpler than the Volvox because it doesn't have a very clean bubble shape, but it still has cell differentiation and it still has an individual body. So, um, so the next step would be to kind of increase the size of the body and the size of this and the number of cell differentiation and the size of tissues. And you would get something analogous to like a sponge that is kind of just a clump of cells with a bunch of holes in it. And that's a multicellular organism that's a little bit more complex.
But kind of what you're doing is you're drawing kind of what you're saying right now. Honestly, I don't want to be a Ken Hovitt. I don't want to use his phrases, but you're kind of drawing lines on paper right now. I mean,
No, because it's
so what you're saying though, what
it
you're
is a
saying,
hypothesis which
right?
path these take,
But it's a
but it's
hypothesis that needs a. You got to be honest here. It's a hypothesis that needs faith. Okay,
it
so
doesn't because there's a lot of evidence for it.
no, so let me be clear. There's to be a creationist, you need faith. To be an evolutionist, you need faith. I think you need more faith to be an evolutionist. Okay, you really need
There's
more faith.
plausible explanations that are hypotheses that aren't necessarily proven that that's what did happen, but they're plausible. And they go and test those hypotheses. In this instance, they found out that settling selection and predatory selection can create very simple multicellular individuals.
Wait a minute, say that one more time. What they found that what?
So there's there's the broad aspect of evolution, which is we know organisms can change and we can observe them changing. The hypothesis then was, can these small changes be accumulated to large changes? That hypothesis was used to predict the data, which was fossils. So it was confirmed by that.
It was
Then the
confirmed by what?
hypothesis was also used to
It was
predict,
confirmed. Wait a minute. It was confirmed by fossils.
yeah. So if we know what's in the ground without even looking first, with a particular method, that means we know how they got there, which
Okay,
is
but I consider honestly.
by changing their parents' template a lot over generations, you can get different templates.
Okay, but hold on. Before we stretch out too far, to me, that's like throwing stuff against a wall and finding out what stick. You know,
Kinda.
you could make intelligent guesses about
Yeah.
certain things that you will find. You know, if you know if I saw a nickel and a quarter and a penny on the floor, I can make an intelligent guess about what I may find next. Okay, here's the problem with that. Evolution love to talk about predictions on what they predicted, but they never talk about false predictions. They never talk about predictions that tend to break the backbone of the tenets of evolution. And the tenets of evolution is blind chance, okay, the natural selection acting on blind chance, you know, and everything being kind of simple. If you really want to break it down, Darwin thought that the cell was simple, and it was a simple, I think it was cytoplasm, or I can't remember the exact term to use. Then they found out it wasn't.
Hmm.
Now, evolution is very adaptive. It'll
Yeah.
adapt to the new information, but it will find a way to grab on and to niche into.
So
But those is for,
science
but
is like that. So we start off with broad strokes of like, I think this is generally true, and we go and test, and some of it comes true, and so we say, okay, what can we change to get even more accurate results? And then whatever gets more accurate results, we go in that direction. Are you there?
yeah, I'm listening. I'm sorry. I
Okay.
was tech. Yeah.
Just checking.
Okay, but no, but wait a minute. Okay, so right. I see. I mean, we just got two different interpretations of that, because to me, evolution can't be falsified, because any new information, they find a way to attach that to evolution some type of way. You know,
Well, no,
you
because
know.
it's if
Hold
they go in and find out.
on. So what I'm saying to you is evolution is very good at when a prediction is not right. Let's say, for example, let's look at Tiktaalik. Okay, so evolution basically, they, to me, this is what they do. They throw big celebrations and they throw big parties when they seem like they made a prediction. But when the prediction don't necessarily fall the way they expected, they they improvise. Like Tiktaalik, they said was a transition between land dwelling fish and land dwelling creatures. But at the same time, when they really looked at the dating method or whatever, how they did that, and they found out that tetrapods basically was already evolved. And I'm not, and I got to be honest with you. I did have a cocktail because I got off of work, so I may not be completely accurate. Like 20,000 years before Tiktaalik. So that was really a false prediction. It was a prediction that threw stuff against the wall to see what stick, and then it didn't stick. But then they just don't accept that the fact that it was wrong. They find a way to make it right. The same way with the complexity of a cell, the
But
DNA
okay,
information. That's not nothing that evolution will predict. Would you agree with that?
the complexity of a cell.
You think that you
Did
think that
Darwinism predict cell chemistry? No. But
okay, so you
science
think
is so
do you
he's
think
not
in
going to be sitting
1980
in
in
his
1980 in
room.
1980 would they
Hold
have
on.
predicted a cell can do what a cell can do right now? In 1980, would they have predicted that?
If they could, science would be over and we would know everything. So science is about errors and correcting those errors. But that doesn't mean that we go back and start from scratch every time. So we stay with the thing that got us some answers, and then we try and refine that so we get more accurate answers. So with Tiktaalik, your example, there was
Stop
a
it.
date range. There's a huge range of like millions of years that we expect that tetrapods are being transitioned from ocean to land. And Tiktaalik was found, and there are footprints found a little earlier. So that doesn't actually go against evolution because no, evolution does not predict that there would be only one transition from ocean to land. It would predict that there would be multiple. So the fact that footprints were found is actually in line with the predictions, and both of them were found in the date range predicted that they should be.
Okay, so I appreciate your interpretation of that, and very eloquently spoken. But you can't take credit for that. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fact is that you're going to have overlapping features. Okay, overlapping features that's going to that you can just assign to evolution. You know, you're going to have the whole thing with Tiktaalik is this here is when we look at evolution, when we look at like let's say for example, world evolution. Okay, you know, you have when you look at world evolution, you look at the Pachycetus, and you look at these things that run you up to evolution. The pictures that you see, okay, the sizes of them and the features of them don't really match. You know, they'll make one smaller than the other when one was actually bigger than the other. And well evolution is one of the honestly, to me, is one of the biggest blunders of evolution. Because when you look at a whale, okay, and you look at the functions that it have when it has these different features where they have the collapsible rib cage, then they have the um, all the features that a whale have, how they evolve these complex features is it's mind boggling. It doesn't make any sense that you would get like Pachycetus, which was almost like was he a rat or a fox or something of that nature? You know?
Closer to kind of a hoofed wolf.
Okay. But you got to listen. Hold on for a second.
So
At what
evolution
point?
didn't.
At what point? At what point do you abandon a theory? That's the question. At what
Okay,
point?
so if evolution predicts there should be, transitional forms from ocean to land in a certain date range, and they find them completely in a different date range. If every single prediction goes wrong, horribly wrong,
Why it's got to be
and
horribly
yet
wrong? Well,
find
why
them
it's got to be
in
horribly wrong?
so if we found them in the Ice Age instead, and exclusively in the Ice Age, and not where we expected them, if we found mammals in the Precambrian, if we found uh, humans in the
Well,
Jurassic,
you got mammals not too far from the Precambrian, I believe.
they start popping up in I'm not sure which is first,
Right, I'm not good with that either.
Jurassic, Triassic, or but they pop up. Mammals existed alongside dinosaurs, but that's far after the Precambrian.
Okay, listen, this conversation. it should be kind of free flowing because we never know when it's gonna end because of what's going on. But let me ask you a question about dinosaur bird evolution.
Sure.
Now, do you realize that the dinosaurs that evolved into birds, okay, actually have reptile-like hips? I think it's called ornithicia, if I'm not mistaken. Um, they actually got reptile-like hips. Those are the ones that evolved into birds according to evolution. And the ones that got bird-like hips didn't evolve into that. Does that make sense to you, or do you understand this? What I'm saying, or you really ain't that deep into it?
So yeah, it's just a naming convention. So they
It's more than
never
that.
thought that like Stegosaurus evolved into a bird. It's just that
No.
that
We
was
talk
how
about
they
anatomy.
differentiated
I'm
them, is
talking about
their hips were
anatomy.
different.
I'm talking about anatomy.
Uh-huh.
The birds, according to evolution, the
Right.
type of dinosaurs that evolved into birds had reptile-like hips, and that's what I'm going to do. The next time we talk, I am going to look that up, and I'm going to give you information on that one. And I think you should check it out yourself. That's basically what it is. So evolution, really, honestly, to be honest with you, it make more false predictions than good predictions.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, the bird-like dinosaur hips. It's I think Stegosaurus is one of them, and that's not an
Mm,
evolutionary
not
prediction.
Stegosaurus, because the Stegosaurus is like huge. I'm not talking about huge dinosaurs. I'm talking about like I don't have access to it right now because I'm trying to deal with my dogs and just got it home from work. I ain't got my clothes off yet, but it's definitely not the Stegosaurus, whatever. But it's other ones. But we can get into that later. But my whole point is, I think evolution make more false predictions than good predictions. But when they make good predictions, they throw parades for it.
But
When they
that
make the
wasn't an
false ones, they
evolutionary
forget about
prediction.
it. What? Wait a minute. It wasn't okay. So it wasn't evolution prediction that birds evolved from dinosaurs.
No, there was no evolutionary prediction that birds evolved from bird-hipped dinosaurs. That's not an evolutionary question. It's just talking
Okay, but
about which way that their part of their hips face, and it's just named like that because birds also have a. I think they have birds have more like a forward-facing hip structure, and some of the dinosaurs had that. So evolution would say that the two different dinosaurs are related, but evolution doesn't say that because we named these certain groups of dinosaurs after bird hips that they were the progenitors of birds. That was never
but it
a
only
hypothesis.
makes sense that if you want to go from a dinosaur to a bird, you kind of need the same type of hips because then you're going to
Yeah,
need.
so that would be a question of convergent evolution where so originally the reptile like hips is what all dinosaurs came from, and some dinosaurs evolved bird-like hips, and then later other dinosaurs evolved bird hips.
Okay, but here's the problem with
So
that.
twice they just had hips that shifted like the orientation and length of their bones, which we know animals can do.
But here's the problem with that. Convergent evolution, when we use that term, it kind of means that evolution can't be falsified because we can always pull that card out of our sleeve and say convergent evolution. Even when they said that certain traits evolve 30, 40 times, Okay,
But that's part of the theory of evolution. Is that
but it's a
certain?
placeholder. It's
No,
kind of like it's a rescue. So
no,
let's look
it's
at it
not
like
a
this here.
rescue. It is built into the theory.
Okay, are you saying you got rescues built into the theory then?
It wasn't there for a rescue. It's that certain shapes can come up multiple times. That's not a rescue device.
Okay, so for certain shapes to come up at certain times, then that would mean that you had mutations that dramatically changed the shape or structure of something, then it changed it back, then it changed it back, then it changed it again, then it changed it again. The only problem with that, if you looked at, if you did um um the conference with evolution with I think it's Frutain or whatever, I can't think of his name. Um it was a was it 2013? I can't remember exactly what year it was, where they had to basically rethink the mechanism of evolution and add extra different. They had to update evolution, right? And Futena, whatever it is, I can't think of his name exactly, basically stated that large scale changes and evolution usually was deleterious, and he was challenging the evolutionary community to come with better information, because what we're dealing with right now by just these so stories is not going to cut it. We need to come with good information,
Hmm.
and we know that large scale changes is detrimental. You can't, you can't. Anytime you have a large scale change, mutation, it's going to lead to deformities.
Hmm.
So you
That's why
can't.
it's gradual.
Okay, good. So if it's gradual, which I like, because that if evolution was to happen, that would be the way for it to happen. But convergent evolution, and when you talk about evolution, basically um, evolving multiple times, that's really not like small changes. It went this way. It was like this, and it was the same way they talk about the eye. They say the eye evolved, what, 30, 40 times? Come on now. And the thing about it is, they talk about the PAX6 genes in the eye,
That's
right?
that's because the basis of an eye is simple and is present
Simple.
in simple organisms. Yeah, a part of a cell that's sensitive to light, or an entire cell that's sensitive to light, is present in simple organisms. So you're going to have a lot of different variation on that basic starter pack. That's why there are many different types of eyes that have evolved.
Okay, but here's the problem with
So
that.
same with hips. The ornithischian bird hips basically is just an elongation of the back of the hip and a shortening of the front of the hip. And we know that can happen to bones over successive generations. That's
Okay,
trivially explained.
okay, so I will look at that, because what you said right there, yes, because a lot of mutations and regulation will end up longer or shorter with it. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's more anatomical than just that. But um, it was a point you just said that I really wanted to get into, but I ended up losing my train
Like
of thought.
a normal person wouldn't notice a difference between the hips. It's very subtle differences that only like a paleontologist or someone would notice. So there's that. Um, they're actually very similar to begin with.
Let me ask you a question really quickly, because I was about to address something you said and I got off. Before we talk about the bird, like the eye, okay, the eye is we talk about the eye. Okay, the PAX6 genes of the eye. Okay, and how you try to say that it's a simple concept. It's not simple at all. And listen, the PAC6 gene in the eye, first of all, let's be very, very, very clear here. Genes, okay, regulate multiple proteins, functions, and regulatory factors. You can have one gene, and not only could it regulate proteins, but the production of proteins, it can regulation at the same time. Okay, and then genes can regulate hundreds, tens, or thousands of genes. So when you make an association between this is the same gene that does this and that, fine, it can. But that gene also has other functions. So just because it do that, you can't make that a correlation between this particular purpose and say, okay, that's evidence of. It's not. The PAC6 gene, the PAC6 genes has been found in creatures that don't have eyes. Okay, because it does other things, right?
Evolution co-opts different functions, so that's to be expected.
Okay, and again, that is another brushstroke. That's another way that you can't falsify evolution. This whole
It's
thing
not about
about
falsifying.
but it's whole thing. I know it's not about falsifying because you cannot falsify it because it's unfalsifiable. The whole thing about co-option, I do not. I am not with that.
It's just a consequence of molecular chemistry, molecular biology, because similar things that have a very similar sequence of peptides can have minor differences and have different functions.
Okay,
so the way a protein is printed out, it can be folded this way, and then you can have a minor change that just hinges it open like that, and now it can have a different function. So you can co-opt something that already exists for a different function, and it can also co-opt something that doesn't change at all, but changes when and where it's released or stimulated, or how much of it will also change its function. If there's a gene that stops division, it can be used to create bodies, or it can be used for just normal unicellular life. It just depends on what context it's being used in, even though the actual peptide is the same, but the regulation of it is different.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. When you're talking about that, so basically, what you're saying is that you can have a slight variation in a gene, a slight different fold in a gene, and that it can do something totally different, right?
Or it can have the same function but plus an added function.
Okay, but here's a problem. Here's a problem with that. Is this here? When you have a fully functioning system that's fully functionable, right? And it's fully functionable for a reason, because it's fully functional because it fits a certain criteria. Like say, for example, we have all these different, let's look at the kinetochore. Okay. Let's look at kinetochore, and let's look at all the features and all the different things that's involved with that. Let's look at the kinesin proteins and all these other proteins that basically run across the spit. What do you call it? The microtubules, right? Mm-hmm. Those have a specific purpose, right? This is working within a system. What you're asking for evolution to do is to adapt within this system, right? And make certain changes. But yeah, how do you describe how evolution built the system from the ground up. See,
Well,
it's easy to say.
muscle is, for example, is a variation on those microtubules. So instead of the sending different resources around the cell itself will use the microtubules as lanes to contract itself, and that's how muscle cells work. So they're repurposing something that already exists in the cell for a different function. And but biology is plastic, so it can
But hold on
have
for a second.
changes to it,
But
and it can still
you
live.
just said it repurposes it. So are
Yeah,
you saying that it does it just randomly, or I mean, see,
changes occur randomly
but changes,
through generations,
right?
and the
Here,
bad changes die.
here's right. But here's the problem with that is, you know, you speak of rapid changes in this multicellularness, right? But then you want to say slow changes, when it comes to these other features. But at the same time, you already have a very well working system that works very, very well. Now you want to say you want to take, you know, um, um, what do you call it? Operating system, what what we at right now? 10 on operating system for is it 10 or 11 right now for Microsoft? Where are we at on the operating
I think we're
system?
on 11.
Okay, so you're on 11, right? So now you want to take an operating system that works very, very, very well, but then you want to put some minor, you want to put it inside of the registry. You want to make simple changes, right? But then you want, oh, let's get a beneficial registry entry and have the system work better.
Well, they do various small updates to it all the time, but it would be better to use examples of life forms. So, for example, dinosaurs already had feathers. So, a
Already had
dinosaur
what?
with
Already had what?
larger dinosaurs already had feathers before birds existed.
Okay, so
So, it'd be
that is
beneficial
something.
for a dinosaur if it got larger feathers, it could jump from higher places, and the impact would be less, or it could flap its arms and jump higher, for example.
Okay, so there was okay, so I will agree with you. There was some feathered dinosaurs. Okay,
Hmm.
and I will also agree with you that some dinosaurs and birds are a little bit on the similar side. I'm not going to go all the way with that one, but I
Yeah,
will
and
agree with
there is
you.
a transition. Like some of the early birds have the reptile-like hips.
Well, I'm not talking about this. I don't know about all of that. I got to look into that. But what I will say is this right here. You have the Cenosaurus, which is a super big dinosaur, and it had the respiratory system where it had how you call it, a kind of like a bird like flow respiratory system, right?
Hmm.
You got a bellow system, right?
Hmm.
And then you have a what is the bird system like? Not bellows, but the other one. You remember the name of that one? 'Cause I'm like I
Well,
said,
there's like air sacs in their bones, or
okay,
the
air sac, right? So you got the air
unidirectional airflow.
exactly. But here's the thing though, and I want to get back with you on this one because my memory is failing me at the moment, but I'm trying to wing it here. Um, Rather it's a airflow system that's bird-like, right?
Hmm.
Or a bellow system that's reptile-like, right? Both systems are very complete, very complete. They work very well for what they do. The transition between the two of them is virtually impossible because the way they're structured and the way the tubes run. Okay. So you can't have that evolution between the two of them because they're structurally totally different. Here's a real problem with evolution.
I don't know if you have a basis for that though, because there are crocodiles and iguanas that have unidirectional airflow,
We have to look
and
at the
it's like a
diagrams.
transitional.
We got to look at the diagrams together, and then we can look at that one. Okay. When I
I
look
don't know
at the
if you can
diagram,
see my screen, but
well, I don't know if I can. Can I look at that? Okay, hold on. Okay, yeah, I can look at that. Hold on. Wait a minute. I can't make it big. This is really like I can't make that as big as I wanted to. I can see it good.
yeah.
I can barely see that. I could
But
barely see that.
point being is that they're not as different from a normal lung as one would think.
You got what?
They're not as different from a normal lung as some people would try to say.
No. When we talk about the structure, how the bellow system versus the one-way flow system is completely different. The tubes are completely different. Completely different.
It looks like it
Both
just
systems,
has
hold on,
multiple
let me say one
lobes
thing.
instead
Both
of one.
systems are completely complete. They're complete. You can't evolve from one to the other.
Are they complete, or are they? So, like, is a flying squirrel complete, or is it only half a flyer?
What? No. I'm not. That's a totally different.
It's a similar question, right?
It's totally different because we're talking
So,
about.
are these lungs complete, or are they? Could they improve?
That's totally different. Like I say, right now, I don't have the diagrams in front of me. I'm not capable of doing that. I'm already got my girl mad at me because she wanted attention, and I'm doing what I want. I'm doing what I want to do, so I can't look at it. I'm away from her right now.
Yeah,
So I can't.
I got the same going on over here.
Exactly. But she's into her lives, her makeup, her Mary Kay. That's all good. But when I'm trying to do something scientific that I like, it's a problem. So I don't have the ability to really look at that right now. But what I'm saying is it's a completely different system. But listen, I think what we should do is I got to tell you, Snake, I really enjoyed this conversation big time.
Yeah.
So, I really want to set up another one. You know what I'm saying? But I think that what we need to do is we can really very free flow this one. You know what I'm saying? I think that we should grab a topic, at least go with that topic, and then after that we go free flow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sounds
and I
good.
think we should go back to the unicellular, multicellular. Because I really feel like, honestly, you want it to be that unicellular is multicellular, but I just don't think you got the evidence to back it up. You definitely don't have it in a fossil record. You don't have it anywhere. You just kind of want it to be. And I will say, we both operate on faith. And I'm being totally honest with you. There are some things in the Bible I don't understand, right? But I believe it in faith. There's quite a bit of evolution that you cannot understand, but you believe it by faith. Can we at least have some common ground on that one?
I see what you're saying. There's not, but it's not like, so the thing with evolution is once the pattern is established, it's like we don't have to know everything about it once the broader pattern is established. So,
How was it falsifiable then? At what point do we say, you know what, this theory sucks? I mean, where do we get there? When do we get there?
well, it's hard at this point because it's gotten us so far. But
Where though? Listen. You know. Okay, let me ask you a question. You think we got a good fossil record?
yeah, I'd like it to be a lot better, obviously. But
Okay,
that's
right.
part of
Okay,
discovery.
so the only place that we might have the best fossil record, and I'm giving a little bit of credence to, and I've talked to him quite a bit, and I've aggravated him. Is what's his name? James Downward. Is that his
Downard,
name?
Downard,
Yeah.
I think.
Yes.
Hmm.
You know, the reptile to mammal transition he talks about, whatever.
Hmm.
That might be the best evidence that they have, and that's not even that good to me. You know, I really feel like you're not. It's not that you're not being completely honest, but you're just really biased. The fossil record is horrible. Okay, and really what makes it bad is every time when we find new information, like we find like those Chinese fossils where you have like one of the excuses was, well, some fossilization just didn't happen, especially if it happens with embryo fossils because they're very delicate. But when they start finding in the Chinese fossils, I can't even think what's his name talked about that. I can't think of his name right now. Talked about how we were able to find fossils of very delicate fossils in China that really spoke to, you know, the fact is that the fossils are not present because we found these ones right here, and if they were there, we would have found them. And I'm gonna look at that again too. But I can't really think the fossil record is good. The fossil record is terrible. It's kind of, I think that's one of the arguments that evolutionists admit that the fossil record is terrible.
It's definitely not complete, and we want more fossils, and more fossils are discovered every single year. Um, so it could be that we just coincidentally found fossils in a pattern that supports evolution, and that evolution predicted that pattern, and that all future discoveries will screw up that pattern. It would be one hell of a coincidence that it's worked out so far. But if fossils start showing up that break that pattern, then we'll have to go back and recheck this
But
evolution
you
thing.
don't think that happened already?
No.
What about, okay, how about bat evolution? Do we have any early bat evolution candidates? We got any of that?
As far as before they have wings,
Well, just period.
yeah, there are bat fossils.
I would love for you to send me a link to that one.
All right,
Okay.
I have a video about it
And I would
actually.
definitely love to talk about whale evolution because whales have a very complex, how do you call it? Let me see how I'm gonna say this one. They have a interflow cooling system, right? That seemed like they evolved. That the testicles need to be cooler. You know that for reproduction, they have to have an interchange cooling heating system. That can you hear me?
Yeah.
Interchanging cooling system where the testicles have to be cooler than the body, right? In order for reproduction. Are you familiar with that?
Um, no, I'm not as familiar
Okay,
with that,
so
but it
okay,
doesn't.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to get you on board with that one there
All right.
because they have a system. They got so many different changes, you know, that uh, and right now, like I said, I'm not capable of doing it right now because I'm in between two things. And I'll be honest with you, I did have a little cocktail right now.
Hmm.
My memory ain't really serving me any good justice right now.
No,
But
that's fine. This it's just a informal discussion, and we'll have more.
and that's what I like. That's what I like because, like I say, we can both learn, but we got to be open.
Mhm.
You got to be open. You got to be
Yeah, and I
open.
might I might shift this over to. Are you familiar with the debate cafe?
Who?
Debate cafe.
What's that?
It's my other channel I run with my friend where we do debates, but we're trying to do like open mics on that channel where anyone can come in and just talk because we score the debates, so we want to have open mics that are not scored or, um, just way more casual. So yeah, I might we might shift this over there to do open mics, and if you want it just the two of us, I'll probably just keep it on my channel. Or if you want other people to come in, we can do that.
Right. And what you know about Darth Dawkins? What you know about him?
I debated him.
When was that?
That was over a year ago, maybe even two.
But you got it. Dark Dawkins is very. I mean, he's like he. I gotta say, he's a smart guy, but he just really debating him is pretty tough because he wanna control stuff.
Yeah.
So I will say that. I will say that. But I was watching him debate some guys. They call themselves the Black Israelites or something like that.
Hmm.
You know what I'm talking about by chance?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those, those guys is just they are. I'm sorry, they aggravated me. The stuff that they were saying, I can't even. It was just so. It was just straight garbage. Their arguments were horrible, you know. And they said it was almost like a jail like a prison like jail like mentality like you've been in prison for like so many years and you done read some books. Now all of a sudden you a philosopher.
Hmm.
And it just wasn't. It was really, it was irritating just to even listen to. But you gotta admit, Dawkins is sharp though.
Yeah.
So you feel like you beat him when you debated him?
He's a good debater, but I definitely beat him because he rage quit. He wouldn't even let me ask questions.
Oh, and see
So
that's
this
the
was a
problem.
formal debate, and he quit. It was on modern day debate.
Okay, so I gotta look that up. And that's the problem with him. He does that. I don't know why he's so angry.
Yeah.
He's too angry.
It's a personal thing with him, with his personality. So, but that's part of why we watch him.
Well, he is entertaining to watch,
Hmm.
but he's just too angry. He needs to quit being so angry. That
Yep.
really messes him up big time.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm gonna call it quits. But
All right,
listen,
man.
so okay, so as far as let's just get an agenda though. You
Mm.
want to talk more about this unicellular thing, or you want to talk about
All of it. But we could do dedicated topics too.
okay, but that's
Yeah.
cool too. That's cool too. This unicellular thing is, I think it's gonna be kind of hard for us to agree because we have a very big difference on what we consider unicellular versus cellular.
Hmm.
We just
I mean,
we have a
I've started shifting my thinking towards, is it an individual or not? Where do you draw that line?
right where you draw the line, and I think that I just to me when I was thinking about it, and I was looking at it, and I was saying to myself, what is being done that individual cells can't do itself? And I just couldn't come up with nothing. I could not come up with nothing that individual cells couldn't do itself versus, you know, cells that are basically like say, for example, if you took away any of the cells, any of the self-differentiation, would these cells still survive? And I feel like they would, because what would happen would be that other cells would just fill in the gaps. So that's why I just didn't feel that was a compelling argument.
Well, so as not to restart the debate,
Chloe, shut up! Shit! Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So I guess we'll pick up the discussion on that note next time.
On the what?
We'll pick up the discussion on that note next time.
Right. I want to talk about the dinosaurs too.
Okay.
As far as the bird evolution,
Mm-hmm.
and then the different breathing mechanisms they have. You know, because I think I can make a case that even though dinosaurs have some dinosaurs have bird breathing mechanisms, I can make a case. Excuse me, stop it, Chloe. I can make a case that those systems are already complete and they can't evolve.
All right.
So that sounds like a plan. So
Yeah,
I don't know what day it is. We can figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
All
we'll
right,
make it happen.
Like
yeah.
All right. Well, look, have a good one. I'm going to get out of here so I can take care of them and deal with my girl.
Yeah. Take care of your girls.
Okay. Sound like a plan. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Yep. Okay. Bye-bye.
I'll talk to you later.
Hey, wait a minute. What about that link? You going to send me the link to this so I can look it over?
Yeah. I'll send you the file if you want.
All right. Cool. That's what I want. Definitely. Okay. Thank you. All right. Yep.
All right. See you later.
All right.
Dog bless.